Nathaniel Cross walked through the hydroponic gardens of the Kelthir capital city, trying to clear his head after another frustrating diplomatic session. He was part of Earth's first official embassy on the Kelthir homeworld, serving as junior cultural attaché, essentially a glorified note-taker for senior diplomats who actually made decisions. The assignment sounded prestigious until he arrived and realized he'd spend most of his time navigating Byzantine court protocols, trying not to accidentally insult anyone. Today he needed air, even the recycled atmosphere of a climate-controlled garden dome. That's when he first noticed her. A Kelthir woman standing at the edge of the garden path, partially obscured by bioluminescent flowering vines. She was watching him with focused intensity, those characteristic long ears oriented directly toward him. When their eyes met, she didn't look away or offer greeting, just continued observing. Nathaniel felt uncomfortable under the scrutiny but nodded politely and continued walking. Over the next week he kept seeing her, in the archives when he was researching Kelthir legal precedents, at the edge of the diplomatic quarter when he was returning from meetings, in the observation deck of the embassy tower when he thought he was alone. She never approached, never spoke, just watched from a distance with that same focused attention. Nathaniel started to worry he was being surveilled, maybe suspected of espionage. He mentioned it to his supervisor, who made discreet inquiries and returned with shocking information. The woman following him was Princess Cyril, third in line to the Kelthir throne and head of their Cultural Preservation Council. She had unrestricted access to go anywhere she wanted. The question wasn't whether she was allowed to watch him, it was why she was bothering. Nathaniel became hyper-aware of Princess Cyril's presence. She wasn't hiding, if anything she seemed to want him to notice her. But she maintained distance, observing his movements, his interactions, his responses to various situations. It was unnerving and strange, and Nathaniel couldn't figure out the purpose. Finally, after 2 weeks of silent surveillance, she broke the pattern. Nathaniel was working late in the embassy's small research library when she entered and sat across from him at the table. Up close he could see details he'd missed from a distance, the intricate patterns etched into her formal robes indicating royal lineage, the way her skin shifted through subtle colors that his cultural training told him indicated contemplation and uncertainty. "You are Nathaniel Cross," she said, not a question, a statement. "You have been with the embassy for 4 months. You are from Earth's northern continent, specifically the region called Canada. You studied comparative anthropology and xenolinguistics. You are considered competent but unremarkable by your superiors." Nathaniel bristled slightly at that last part but nodded. "You've been following me. Why?" Cyril's ears flicked back briefly, a gesture he'd learned indicated careful consideration. "Because I am evaluating you, for a purpose you are not yet aware of." She explained, choosing words precisely, that Kelthir royalty were bound by strict protocols regarding bonding partners. Members of the royal line must choose mates from approved bloodlines, candidates vetted for genetic compatibility and political advantage. It had been this way for millennia, ensuring stability and continuity. But there was an ancient provision, rarely invoked, that allowed a royal to claim right of unforeseen bond, if they could demonstrate to the council that their chosen partner, regardless of origin, possessed qualities essential to the realm's future that no approved candidate offered. Nathaniel's confusion must have shown because Cyril continued, "I have been expected to select a bonding partner from approved candidates for 3 years. I have refused them all. My family grows impatient. The council pressures me. But I cannot bind myself to someone chosen for bloodline and politics when I have seen." She paused, skin flushing copper, "when I have seen how you interact with your world and mine." Over following weeks, Princess Cyril stopped merely observing and started engaging. She asked Nathaniel to show her how he approached cultural research, watched how he navigated diplomatic complications with patience rather than authority, observed his interactions with Kelthir staff who appreciated that he learned their names and asked about their lives. She was testing him, he realized, but not for skills or knowledge. She was evaluating character, seeing if the person she observed from a distance matched the person up close. Nathaniel was overwhelmed and skeptical. "I'm a junior attaché. I have no political value, no status, no resources that would benefit your realm. Why would the council ever approve me?" Cyril's response was measured, because you possess something none of the approved candidates do. Genuine curiosity about others without agenda. Every suitor presented to me sees partnership as transaction, what they gain through connection to the throne. You ask questions because you want to understand, not because you want leverage. That quality is rare among my people and desperately needed in leadership. She admitted that Kilthir culture had become rigid, focused on maintaining tradition and hierarchy at the expense of adaptation and genuine connection with other species. The royal line had been genetically optimized for intelligence and strategic thinking, but had lost something essential: the ability to value individuals rather than categories. I watched you help a maintenance worker repair a damaged irrigation system even though it was not your responsibility, Cyril said. You did not do it for recognition or advantage. You did it because someone needed help and you could provide it. That is the quality I need beside me if I am to challenge the Council's rigidity and push our species toward genuine alliance rather than diplomatic performance. Nathaniel asked what happened if he agreed. Cyril explained the process. She would formally invoke right of unforeseen bond, presenting him to the Council as her chosen partner. She would have to argue that he possessed essential qualities no approved candidate offered. The Council would test him extensively, looking for any excuse to reject the claim. If they approved, he would be bonded to her and become part of the royal line with all the complications that entailed. If they rejected, he would likely be asked to leave the homeworld to avoid embarrassment. And if he refused her entirely, she would have to choose from approved candidates or face being removed from succession. Nathaniel was terrified and intrigued. He barely knew her beyond these strange weeks of observation and conversation. But he'd also seen something in her fierce determination and quiet loneliness that resonated with his own feelings of being underestimated and overlooked. He asked for time to consider. Cyril agreed but added quietly, I did not plan to feel this way. I plan to evaluate you objectively, determine if you possess the qualities I needed, and make a strategic choice. But watching you these weeks, talking with you, I have found something I did not expect. Her skin flushed that deep copper. I find myself wanting to choose you not just because you are suitable, but because when I imagine my future, I want you in it. Over the next month, Nathaniel observed Cyril in return. He saw how she navigated court politics with strategic brilliance while maintaining genuine care for her people. He watched her challenge rigid protocols when they harmed individuals while respecting traditions that provided stability. He realized she wasn't asking him to be a political asset. She was asking him to be a partner who would help her change her culture from the inside. Finally, he gave his answer, yes. The council proceedings were brutal. Nathaniel was tested on Kilthir history, cultural protocols, political structures. He was questioned about his intentions, his background, his worthiness. Cyril argued passionately that he represented the bridge her species needed toward genuine alliance with humanity, someone who understood both cultures and valued individuals over abstractions. The council was skeptical until one elder asked Nathaniel directly, why would you accept this bonding? You gain status but lose freedom. You will be scrutinized forever. Why make this choice? Nathaniel's answer was honest. Because Princess Cyril spent weeks silently following me, studying not just my skills but my character. She saw value in me that my own people overlooked. She's asking me to stand beside her while she challenges her entire culture to value connection over transaction. That's terrifying and extraordinary, and I want to be part of it. Not for status, not for advantage, because I've watched her in return and I've seen someone worth choosing. The council, after days of deliberation, granted approval. The bonding ceremony was both intimate and formal, Cyril and Nathaniel making vows that bound them not just personally but politically. As they exited the ceremony hall to face the assembled court, Cyril whispered, "Thank you for saying yes. For trusting my plan even when it seemed impossible." Nathaniel smiled. "Your plan was to find someone who values people over position. I'm just glad I qualified." Cyril's skin flushed gold with